Thursday, January 25, Help from the Sanctuary. Read Psalm 3 verse 4, 14:7, 21-3, 27:5, 36:8, 61:4 and 68:5 and 35. Where does help come from in these texts? First of all, Psalm 3 verse 4. And that reads, I cried to the Lord with my voice, and he heard me from his holy hill, Selah. And Psalm 14, verse 7, Oh, that the salvation of Israel might come out of Zion. When the Lord brings back the captivity of his people, let Jacob rejoice, and Israel be glad. And Psalm 20, verses 1-3, May the Lord answer you in the day of trouble. May the name of the God of Jacob defend you. May he send you help from the sanctuary and strengthen you out of Zion. May he remember all your offerings and accept your burnt sacrifice. Selah. And Psalm 27, verse 5, For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret place of his tabernacle he shall hide me. He shall set me high upon a rock. And Psalm 36, verse 8, They are abundantly satisfied with the fullness of your house, and you give them drink from the river of your pleasures. And Psalm 61, and verse 4, I will abide in your tabernacle forever. I will trust in the shelter of your wings. Selah. And Psalm 68, verse 5, A father of the fatherless, a defender of widows, is God in his holy habitation. And verse 35, O God, you are more awesome than your holy places. The God of Israel is he who gives strength and power to his people. Blessed be God. The motif of spiritual and physical refuge and help notably appears in the context of the sanctuary. The sanctuary is a place of help, of safety, and of salvation. The sanctuary provides a shelter to the troubled. God defends the orphans and widows and gives strength to his people from his sanctuary. When, as it reads in Psalm 50, verse 2, out of Zion, the perfection of beauty, God will shine forth. God's righteous judgments are proclaimed and the Lord's blessing goes forth. We read in Psalm 84 and verse 4. Blessed are those who dwell in your house, they will still be praising you. Selah. And Psalm 128, verse 5, The Lord bless you out of Zion, and may you see the good of Jerusalem all the days of your life. And Psalm 134, verse 3, The Lord who made heaven and earth bless you from Zion. The refuge in the sanctuary surpasses the security provided by any other place in the world because God personally dwells in the sanctuary. The presence of God, not merely the temple as a firm building, provides safety. Likewise, being the mountain where the Lord dwells, Mount Zion surpasses other mountains, though in itself it was a modest hill. As we read in Psalm 68, 15 and 16, a mountain of God is the mountain of Bashan. A mountain of many peaks is the mountain of Bashan. Why do you fume with envy, you mountains of many peaks? This is the mountain which God desires to dwell in. Yes, the Lord will dwell in it forever. And Isaiah chapter 2, verse 2, Now it shall come to pass in the latter days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established on the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow to it. And then in Hebrews 4, verses 15 and 16, we read, For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy to find grace to help in time of need. In what ways do these verses parallel what the psalmist says about the sanctuary? The holiness of God's sanctuary prompts the psalmist to acknowledge that all people are sinful and completely undeserving of God's favour, and he claims that deliverance is based on God's faithfulness and grace alone. As you read in Psalm 143 verse 2, "Do not enter into judgment with your servant, for in your sight no one living is righteous." And verses 9 to 11, "Deliver me, O Lord, from my enemies. In you I take shelter. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. Your spirit is good. Lead me in the land of uprightness. Revive me, O Lord, for your name's sake. For your righteousness' sake, bring my soul out of trouble. In your mercy, cut off my enemies and destroy all those who afflict my soul, for I am your servant." Nothing in us gives us any merit before God. It is only when people stand in a right relationship with God through repentance and acceptance of God's grace and forgiveness that they can plead for God's assurance of deliverance. The sanctuary service represented the salvation found in Jesus. This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. And you can listen and watch at the same time on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.